Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Exceptional Relationships. I'm your host, Jason Safford, founder of Exceptional Results Now, here with my wonderful co-host, Ronique Clarke, our Exceptional Relationships coach. And today we're
Hi.
talking about, what are we talking about, Ronique? We're talking about idolizing
Our
relationship goals.
relationship goals.
And I don't even know what relationship goals are. So why don't you school me on relationship goals? What are relationship goals?
Boy, let me tell you something. It means a lot of things to a lot of different people. Number one.
Okay.
And from my understanding, from what relation in terms of relationship goals, it is pretty much a standard of care, that you see other relationships basically the standard of care that
Mhm.
other relationships have that you would like to emulate in your relationship. So that is pretty much, well, from my understanding, that is what what defines a relationship goal.
So it's a fantasy.
uh for some people, they'll look at other people's relationships and say, oh, I wish I could do that with that. I wish I could do that with my significant other, or I wish I could, I don't know, do specific activities with that significant other the way they would, and seeing them do this, I want to aspire to do that as well. So of course that's what you call a goal. So yeah,
But
in a way.
well, I understand it from one side that when you have a picture of two people, a couple that you think they're very happy together, you might say to yourself,
Mhm.
I want that happiness that they have.
Mhm. Yeah.
But what I hear underneath the surface of what you're saying is that oftentimes there's a picture of people in a
Mhm.
moment in which they are showing happiness or they're showing something, and everybody wants that, not understanding what it takes to get there. So,
Uh-huh.
so the
In the
difficulty
same way,
is,
in the
yeah.
same way, people want to go to the wedding and go to the party and
Mhm.
have all the drinks and celebrate and be in a nice dress, but nobody is looking at the hard work that it took to put that whole production together,
Mhm.
and one bag of stress and invitation going out and arguments about um who to invite, who not to invite, just the normal everyday adversity that you would come across when you are in a partnership with somebody.
Right.
So you see the glitz and the glamour, you don't know the full story.
Right.
So
Right. And it also sounds like what you're really talking about is the fact that the outcomes of,
yeah.
hard work are what people should be striving for themselves.
Yeah.
But instead, they're constantly looking to other people's happiness
Mm-hmm.
instead of working on their own. And
Ah.
so therefore, the challenge with relationship goals is that you may aspire to somebody else's relationship goals and find that you're not happy because
That
they're
is true.
not your goals.
That is true. That is true. You have to do what is, you have to do what speaks true to what is inside you. You cannot put yourself in a position where you are following a trend just because everybody is doing it, and you want to belong. It can't just be that. You have to be doing what is right for you, and 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 what is right for the other person as well. So
Mhm.
you can't follow people.
And, in your experience, a lot of people who have, shared their challenges with you and their concerns within relationships, what
Yeah.
is the what is the biggest obstacle they often have to overcome in order to really address their own relationship goals?
Honestly, just accepting the fact that some of those goals might not happen. And sometimes uh, from what I have seen, a lot of people will push for certain things, and something is saying to them, don't do it, but them still pushing for it anyway, and that is when they get into problems later on down the road, just because they didn't they didn't listen the first time. And it's usually a situation where somebody shows you who they truly are. And I always say, if somebody shows you who they truly are the first time, believe them. Believe them the first time. So one has to be very, very careful when it comes to pushing certain things when you know deep within yourself that it's not right. So
And
stay true to yourself.
yeah, and I hear you loud and clear saying that it's really about the individual staying true to themselves. How do you bring that to the other person in terms of the real relationship goals? Because I think that's the other problem here, is that we see other people's happiness and we want it, but then
Yeah,
are we really communicating that to each other?
yeah, that's true. Well, first thing you have to ask yourself, what is happiness to me? What what do what do I see? What is my vision of my own happiness? What does me being happy look like? And and envision it.
Mm-hmm.
What does me being happy look like? And when you see that, when you have that vision in your mind, you ask yourself, if this person, this person who is around me more than a casual friendship capacity, um is this person a part of the happiness, or does this person want to be a part of my happiness? So yeah, those are the sort of questions, because everything starts from within us. So you have
Yeah,
to look at what do you envision yourself as when you're happy.
and
How
what
you
I don't hear you saying,
envision yourself.
yeah, what I don't hear you saying, and I think that this is important because we talk about it in terms of goals, relationship goals. That means that you have a vision of what you want in the future.
Yep.
But what I don't hear you saying is how people are contributing to that vision.
Yeah.
And
So that was what I was saying before. How do I envision myself how do I envision myself being happy? And the second question is, how is the other person contributing to me being happy?
well, I think it's both of
That's
you.
the second question.
In other words,
Yeah.
I think it's not just the other person. I think it's you have to see the goal that you want and bring it to the other
Yes.
person, and you have to
Yep.
then say, okay,
And
what am
that's the
I
third and that's the
contributing?
third question. How are you contributing to the
Right,
other person's happiness? So
right.
that is where don't get me wrong, I'm talking about both people. How do I envision myself being happy,
Hmm.
as happy, and how is the other person contributing to my happiness?
Yeah,
And vice versa.
yeah. Am I
Sorry.
matching the other person's contribution?
Yes,
This,
vice versa as well.
yeah,
So both individuals have to look at themselves and see how they see themselves when they're happy.
and
And next question is, how is the other person putting towards our happiness? So it
right.
has to be it's going both ways. So it's basically one question, but it's pretty much for both sides.
Right. And you talked about it last week in terms of givers and takers. And now
Yeah.
when you look at a healthy relationship, it's really
Mm-hmm.
about how both people are giving to the relationship. So it's a
Ah,
reciprocal sort of interaction. And it's not to
yep.
say that you're not taking as you're giving, but the idea in a healthy relationship and one in which you can build real goals is one in
Yeah.
which you sit down with each other and say, okay, what is the goal and how are we contributing? Where can we contribute more? What can we do to achieve these goals, more effectively, faster? How do we surpass our own goals and find even greater happiness and abundance?
Exactly. So you have to have those sort of conversations and really sit down, and everything in terms of goals, there isn't really one specific goal because every relationship is different. And by what I mean by relationship is interaction between two individuals. It is everything is different. It's like a fingerprint. So you have to sit down with your partner and discuss that. And you have to ask those pertinent questions. And then you guys come to an agreement in terms of what you would like to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
And how you would like to work towards it as a partnership.
Yeah.
So
why is it so hard for people to see the value in these sentiments, relationship goals and happiness, and getting on the same page with each other? Why is it so difficult for people to see things in a simple light?
because everybody wants everything ready made like Toys R Us. Everybody
Okay.
wants to go into, I think of it this way. Everybody wants to go into relationships R Us, go into I-13 or I-12 and see the exact relationship when they want, packaged up in a box, very, very neatly
And gift
presented,
wrapped.
up, gift wrap, yes. I'll go to the cashier, cash it out. They have the money like $25 or so. Cash it, get back your change, and that is theirs.
Right. Right. And on top of that, it's supposed to be an investment that reaps you with a great deal of reward and no stress whatsoever, right?
Exactly. That's what I call the relationships RO syndrome.
There you go. I like that.
The relationships RO syndrome.
And when you say it that way, now you look at online dating and all these different platforms, and they don't make it any easier for you. If anything, they make you feel like you're in the candy store.
Oh my goodness. But the thing about it is relationships don't work that way.
Yeah.
Relationships don't work that way. Sometimes you have to get somebody on, no, I'm not gonna say get somebody on clearance, but sometimes you're not gonna find the absolute perfect person. You're not
Why
gonna
don't
find
think
the
you
absolute
ever
perfect
find
person.
the
You
absolute?
have to, no, there doesn't exist. You're not gonna find the perfect person. What you're looking for is a perfect person for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that takes a lot of building up of self, right? And that takes a lot of being aware and looking out for the characteristics that you either want to emulate, because everybody has to be equally yoked, or somebody who has similar qualities as you, or personality traits as you, or similar, or complements, and you work from there. So it isn't a ready-made thing. This is not relationships are us. This is the real world. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and you bring up a catchphrase that's very popular right now, which is equally yoked. And I think that, one of the challenges in that sentiment is that in the real world, it's very hard to look at things as equal based on who's contributing one. It's very hard to look at things based on the fact that as men and women, we're different and we don't necessarily feel that the other person is necessarily always equal to us in terms of what they contribute, what they think, how they act. And then I think the third thing too is that sentiment often is about support. And, that's very difficult in relationships simply because unless you go in saying, hey, I'm ready to equally support you, you usually are looking for someone who is giving you more than what you had before. You usually had, a relationship where you weren't getting what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore you're looking for somebody who's going to give you more than what you've received in the past. And that
Mm-hmm.
often means that you're not necessarily looking to contribute as much.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you
Mm-hmm.
go.
Well, guess what? You have to look at when you're looking for certain things, you have to look at who is giving you what you're already giving yourself, and
Okay.
vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the core of it is this, if your basket is empty, how can you give to somebody else?
Right.
You have to make sure that your basket is full. So you have, on both sides of the spectrum, you have to look at um, if this person is giving you what you're already giving yourself. And that is where, and that is where the, and that is where you see where people are trying to either, what is the term nowadays, level up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the new term nowadays, leveling up.
Right.
So you have to look, so you have to look at what this person is giving you, that you are giving yourself. Because if you are not giving yourself what this person is giving you, what will happen is you're going to be dependent.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be dependent on that person to give you that. And it really shouldn't be about that. It's supposed to be an equal partnership. So if you are giving that to yourself, if you are giving love to yourself, if you are giving support to yourself, if you're giving yourself motivating yourself to push harder and be better and do more and be be a better person, this person, the other person, should be contributing to that, and vice versa too, because they, if you are going to be in a partnership, you want to at least make sure that this person is on that same journey for themselves as well, so they
All right.
can be better and they can be stronger and they can be able to do more.
So basically you're matching to the other person what you yourself
Mm-hmm.
not only give yourself but feel that you should be giving to someone else what you want. Now, I'm going to bring this up.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a curveball, but
Okay.
it's important out there, which is the fact that
Okay.
there are a lot of women, especially
Mm-hmm.
right now, who are up in arms because you have these, male relationship coaches that
Mm-hmm.
preach what women should do and what they should
Yeah.
expect, and how they should act. And we go back to the book, Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady. um,
Yeah.
you know but they themselves, the coaches, usually have flaws where it's, do as
Yeah.
I say, not as I do,
Yeah.
which often becomes a problem for the rest of us, because then we look at each other with these flaws.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, again, relationship goals, how do we
Mm.
keep in mind our own flaws? We're not perfect. And
Yeah.
in the fact that because we're not perfect, we are going to make mistakes. and
Yeah.
and within a relationship, this is a part of
Mm-hmm.
the real foundation of the relationship.
That is true.
Forgiveness and understanding.
That is true. And the thing about it is, we must always keep in mind that we are not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. I do make my mistakes. But at the end of the day, you have to. This is what I always said. Don't look at the messenger. Look at the message being. Look at the message being relayed.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, a lot of times the messenger themselves aren't gonna follow their own advice. So
Hmm.
a lot of times they don't, but they still put the information out there, so other people can listen and can at least say, okay, can take it in the sense that don't make the same mistakes I made.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's important to be aware of that. These people are not perfect. They're humans, just like you and me. We make our mistakes, we learn from them, we adjust, we move on. Right? But at the end of the day, the knowledge being imparted, that doesn't make it any less important. So still take the message into consideration, yes, but at the end of the day, you have to realize that we're all humans. We're all humans. We're going to do some crap. Some things are gonna fall upon us, by the way you said, and sometimes we're gonna end up doing some crap. So
And I think
nobody
the other factor that you had pointed to this before is
Mhm.
that when we aspire or idolize
Yes.
anyone and their particular ideals, or what their supposed relationship is,
Yeah.
and we then project that onto our significant other, or our idea of a significant other. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is it's exactly like you said in terms of the Toys R Us aisle. In other words, you have somebody who's modeling themselves a certain way, and
Ah.
whether or not that model is completely true and factual in all areas of
Mm-hmm.
their life, first of all, you don't know. But
That's
second
true.
of all, is that whereas it's an ideal, it's like the romance novel character.
Yeah.
Lots of women love the romance novel character because he presents all the ideals that a woman
The
wants.
attribute.
Right, the
Yes.
attributes, right. But in real life, very few men actually exhibit most of those attributes and ideals.
That is true.
And
That is
so the reality is that in a fantasy, that it's a fantasy, but when
yeah.
somebody is modeling it in real life, like they're the ideal,
Mm-hmm.
you have to start to ask yourself, why is this the case? Why are
Mm-hmm.
they doing this? And is this really for me? Yeah, it's a fantasy, but is it
That is
really
true.
what I want? And
That is true.
and I think that's something just for us to consider in terms of relationship goals, is how are we modeling ourselves in a way that's
That is true.
authentic?
Yep, that is true. Remember a couple of years ago in 50 Shades of Grey, it just come out, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody wanted the 50 Shades of Grey relationship.
That's right. Yeah. It's
Remember
been a
that?
fantasy. Yeah, it's been a fantasy for a
Yeah,
lot of people.
let me tell
So,
you something.
mm-hmm.
That tried to live out that fantasy did not work as well for some people as it did for others, So
Mm-hmm.
don't do it. You have to do what is right for you.
Right.
You have to do what is right for you. This is not a relationship sorrow situation. It is something that you have to take pieces.
And even
You have
in
to
50
take
Shades of Grey, you have to work at it. It's just,
that is true.
again, it's not
First
something
is
that just happens. And even if it does just happen, the reality is it happens one time,
yes,
and then you have to work at it. So you
that is
can't,
true.
let's put it this way. All 50 shades are not the same shade. They're different shades.
That is true. That is true.
And so
So
people take the shade they like and they forget about the other 49.
exactly. That's what I'm gonna say. This is not a relationships or a situation. You
Yeah.
can't just go into an aisle and pick up the ready-made relationship and everything be perfect. And that is that. It
Yeah.
takes work, and it
Yeah.
takes a lot of inner work,
Yeah.
because in order for you to have that person around you and have that person a sort of capacity in your life, you have to be in a space where you are ready to welcome that.
Yeah.
Because welcoming that comes with comes with dealing with somebody else's perspective on things, and how you two are going to navigate life from different perspectives, and how those different perspectives align in certain areas. And that is where you have the things where you have in common, and aligned belief systems, and aligned value systems, and aligned goals. So it's not easy. Nothing ever
So,
is. But guess
so
what? The best things are never easy. The best things in life are never easy.
yeah. So if you were to summarize for our listeners, again, we started this in terms of, our relationship goals, really relationship goals. And, I think we've approached this from a couple of different, angles, which are pretty good. But if you were to summarize it, what should our listeners be taking away from this particular conversation?
Don't follow nobody.
So we're back to
Don't-
authenticity.
Yes, don't follow anybody. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Just because you see somebody in their seemingly perfect relationship, that is only what they choose to show you. There are a whole lot of things going on. There are a whole lot of things going on when the cameras are off and the phones are off. And there isn't any social media around those people. A lot of things going on that you don't know. So do not idolize anybody for their relationship goals. Um, I hate to get biblical on this. They said, thou shall not covet. That's one of the 10 commandments.
So really
But it's
find
true.
yourself.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, don't look at other people's relationship and say, oh, relationship goals. Yes, it's good to have goals, and it is good to see certain things and say, yes, I and aspire to be a certain way. But at the end of the day, you have to do what is right for you and your relationship, because what might be goals for somebody else's relationship might not be goals for yours,
Yeah.
and vice versa too. And when you try to incorporate certain things into your relationship, that is when things are gonna go awry. So do
Mm.
what is best for you, what is best for your partner, and what is best for both of you collectively. Okay,
Excellent. Excellent.
cool.
All right. This has been another wonderful episode. And for our listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed this one in particular because for both Ronique and I, it's always about exploring and
Yes.
finding yourself.
Yes.
All right. Love and light as always.
Love and light as always, my darling. See you.
See
Talk
you.
talk again.
Bye bye.